About 19 years ago, after my wife was diagnosed with cancer and she recovered, I started sensing that God was calling me to serve as a deacon. God was speaking to me about this, and other people were encouraging this. And so finally, I decided after about 2 years of daily prayer and asking the Lord for illumination in this discernment, I applied to the seminary and was accepted to my own surprise. And I remember very distinctly on the first day of class, all the men who had been accepted as aspirants came to the seminary, met in a classroom. Their wives were all with them. And the instructor, who's the director of formation, laid out the coming year, laid out the next 4.5 years. And I was filled with anxiety coming into this because I knew that if I was going to discern this, it was going to require sacrifice. It was going to require hardships in my life. I was going to have to go and kind of do studying, which I hadn't done since college, which was a long time before that. And I knew I had deficiencies and I had virtue struggles. This was a big undertaking. And all the other men and their wives kind of felt the same way, this anxiety. They didn't know what, it was on paper what was coming ahead, but really don't know all the hardships you're going to have to endure, all the suffering. The director of formation gave us a little advice that day, which has stuck with me. He said, trust the process. Trust the process. And over again during my formation, when things got tough, went back to that. Trust the process. And it was a beautiful 4.5 years, not without suffering, but beautiful time to grow deeper in my faith and my wife's faith. And every day has been beautiful since then. Not all days have been easy. Every day has been a grace, a beautiful moment to live this vocation. I was thinking about that saying, trust the process, for our readings today. We've got the first reading from Job, and then we have this gospel reading with our apostles going out on the boat. For those of you that have never read the book of Job, I highly, highly encourage it, especially if you are suffering. This book is a book specifically in the category of wisdom. All the Bible is to acquire wisdom. But this genre itself is the first book of wisdom. And it's a story of a man, Job, who is a believer. He's a righteous man. He's also a wealthy man. He has many possessions. He's blessed by a beautiful family, many children. He's married. He trusts God to a certain extent. But Satan comes to God and says, that Job will turn away from you, God, if he suffers. God says, go ahead, Satan, try and test him. So Job undergoes a trial where he loses his possessions, loses his children, they all die. Wife turns against him, he gets serious skin affliction. And he wonders, what did I do? What did I do to deserve this? Why am I suffering? He doesn't lose faith in God, but he asks God, why? And so towards the end of this, and this is where we get our little reading today, God comes to him and explains why. He says, Job, were you there when I created the cosmos? Job, were you there when I dug out the seas? Job, were you there when I planted all the flowers in the fields? This is not a direct answer to why Job is so suffering, but it is an answer because Job receives it in humility and realizes, okay, I see what's going on here. God is God and I am not. God is God and I am not. And that God is allowing me to suffer here. And I don't know why, because he hasn't given me the answer. But he has gave me one thing. He's given me the source of the answer, and that is God has come to me and appeared to me. And that is enough for Job. It takes a lesson in humility. Likewise, in our gospel today, we have this story of our Lord and his apostles. He's just chosen them. He's just chosen them. This is from chapter 4 in Mark. He's been up on the Sea of Galilee near that area. He's choosing his apostles. He's going out and he's healing. He's exorcising demons. He's healing the lame. They see this. So our Lord goes out on the boat just offshore and he's preaching to the people. And it says there's a very large crowd gathered around on the shore as our Lord is preaching. The apostles are in the boats with him. He's preaching, they're hearing it. He's preaching parables. He's explaining it privately to the apostles. And then our Lord says, let us go to the other side. 7 miles or so. And then there's a storm. There's a storm. And our Lord is asleep in the back of the boat on a cushion. They've been chosen to go out on the boat. They're special. They're not like the rest of the people that are on the seashore. They're in the inner circle, and yet they're out on the boat, and there's a storm. And even though there's some of them are sailors and fishermen, they panic because they know what's going to happen. As the waves come over, the boat is swamping, and they're going to drown. So they cry out, Master, do you not care that we are perishing? Master, do you not care? Do you not care that we're going to die here? Our Lord, asleep, wakes up, rebukes the wind, rebukes the waves. Quiet, peace, be still. And immediately it's quiet and docile on the evening sea. And he rebukes them. He says, do you not have faith? Do you not trust me? This is a lesson in humility. Like Job, they have to learn. They've seen the miracles. They've seen the healings. They've seen the exorcisms. Those miracles were for other people. This miracle is for them, and it's to suffer. Training them in holiness. It's the process of training to be saints. When I was going through formation, that was a process to train me to be a deacon. Discerning. There's a process that we all go through which is much more important. It's to trust the process that God uses to make us saints. This is what's happening to the apostles here. He tests them. The Lord knows the storm is coming because the Lord caused the storm. The church fathers attest to that. This is so that they can experience terror, even this primal terror that we all carry around, the fear of death. That God's grace can transform all that causes us anxiety, all the things that cause us worry, all the things that cause us not to trust Him. The test can come and will come for most of us. He gives the grace to overcome it. Trust the process is the process that we all have to go through, be saints. So our Lord rebukes them after they say, "Do you not care?" And how many times we do the same thing? Do you not care, Lord, that my husband is unemployed? Do you not care, Lord, that my children have left the church and I've been praying for 20 years for this intention? Do you not care, Lord, that I have chronic pain? I pray for this to be lifted from me. This is the process, trusting the Lord, knowing that we can't always see why we suffer, but the Lord is not sleeping. The Lord is not sleeping. He is present in our lives. He's present with us by our baptism. He is present certainly in the tabernacles of every Catholic church in the world. The Lord is not sleeping in our suffering. The Lord is fully awake and knows exactly what the plan is. We have to trust this process, growing in faith. If you suffer, if you wonder where God is in your life, you struggle with facing God's plan, there's a beautiful prayer that was given to me and my wife at a wedding. It was very unusual. Beautiful Catholic couple. After the wedding and the reception line, they handed out this little brochure here. It's called the Litany of Trust. The Litany of Trust. It's a little prayer. It's not that long, and it's pretty recent. A religious sister out in New York, I think, from the Sisters of Life, wrote it down when she was really struggling in her vocation, and something came up, and she just wasn't trusting the Lord. So she, in like 15 minutes, wrote this prayer down. She didn't even mean it to be published, but she gave it to someone, and they're like, can I have that? And so it kind of took a life of its own. This little brochure, by the way, is easy to find, the text of it on the internet. Type in Litany of Trust if this resonates with you or you need growth in this area. But there's another way to get this little card here with the prayer. Father told me last night that in the confessional, many times he gives this out. So if you want an easier way to find it, go to the sin bin. Father will give you one of these. It's a bonus that he gives out, and he orders them by the bulk. So I'm going to pray, go through this prayer here. I'll do the responses if you want in your heart to join in on this. I'm only going to do the first half of it, but the whole thing is very beautiful. But it speaks to the heart, what's wrong with us and where we need healing, an encounter with the truth. So I'm going to read this as a little reflection. This is the Litany of Trust. From the belief that I have to earn your love, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear that I am unlovable, deliver me, Jesus. From the false security that I have what it takes, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of trusting you will leave me more destitute, deliver me, Jesus. From all suspicion of your words and promises, deliver me, Jesus. From the rebellion against childlike dependency on you, deliver me, Jesus. From refusals and reluctances in accepting your will, deliver me, Jesus. From anxiety about the future, deliver me, Jesus. From resentment or excessive preoccupation with the past, deliver me, Jesus. From a restless self-seeking in the present moment, deliver me, Jesus. From disbelief in your love and presence, deliver me, Jesus. From the fear of being asked to give more than I have, Deliver me, Jesus, from the belief that my life has no meaning or worth. Deliver me, Jesus, from the fear of what love demands. Deliver me, Jesus, from discouragement. Deliver me, Jesus.